And now let me welcome on to today's episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast, none other than Tony Skinn, head coach at George Mason. Tony, what's going on, man? I appreciate you being here.
No, what's going on, guys? I appreciate you guys for having me on, man. It's always good to talk to you two guys.
So listen, the first thing I need to do here is I need to apologize to you. I'm very superstitious. I believe in jinxes. I reached out to your SID, Mark LaFrance, on Monday about this podcast. Then on Tuesday, a team that shoots 38% from three went 0 for 15 from beyond the arc. Took a loss at home to VCU. That's a tough one, and that's a rivalry. So, Coach, that's on me, man. That's my bad. Whatever you need from me, lateness drills, you need me to do some 17s, anything like that, I owe you one.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you for that, man. That was very uncharacteristic of our team. It took a historic night for VCU to get that win with them making 7 threes and us, going 0 for 15. I think it's 14 years since that has happened. And so obviously as good as they played, we still held them to pretty much 52 points, which is the norm. And if we just hit 1 3, that's the difference in that game. So, you weren't out there shooting the basketball, so you can't take any blame, man.
Were they good looks?
You know what? I think out of the 15, 5 of them were, 10 were forced. So that doesn't help either.
Yeah. All right. So I had Kean Hall on earlier, and I'm telling you, he might be my new favorite player. Player, kid, all of it. That dude is fun to talk to.
Yeah.
And his story's great too. I mean, again, I think he told me he was like tipping the scales at like close to 300 pounds.
290.
Big guard, big guard, right? Now he's just a big guard. Before he was a huge guard. But he's been awesome for you. I want to know like when, because sometimes coaches, you don't realize what you have until the lights go on.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know when he came over, transferred from UNLV, didn't play a ton? Like, was there a point in the preseason when you're like, okay, I know this kid's going to be really, really good?
Yeah, you know what? And I'll always tell the story. I watched Kean Hall when I was at Ohio State. I went to go watch. One of the first things that I had to do was to go watch Bowen Hardman, who was committed to Ohio State. And so I went to go watch him, and I saw Kean, obviously a different version of Kean, but he got stuff done. He was playing a point. He was playing every position on the floor. He was fun to watch. He played extremely hard. And in my mind, I wasn't thinking anything past that. You fast forward, I get the job, see his name in the portal. I look him up and I'm like, whoa, this kid is, he's, minus 40, 50 pounds. Let me communicate with him. Let's see what we can make happen. Obviously we got him in. When he showed up on campus, he was even lighter. And so, I mean, just his movements, he works extremely hard. He's the hardest worker on this team, like first one in the gym, last one to leave. He's putting up 500-600 shots a day. He works. Anybody that can lose 70 pounds is a committed person. And I would say probably a week into it, once we started getting up and down and competing a little bit, we saw it. So it's not a surprise when you work that hard and you're that committed and you're that talented. I think the success that he has right now, it's not a real surprise to me.
So that was a self-starter thing for him, right? That wasn't you getting him on campus and saying, hey, man, look, if you want to be this good, you got to lose that weight.
No, mind you, he did this pretty much towards the end of his season and then all of it post season. And that was all him. Once he jumped in the portal, your resources are cut off. And so he did all that on his own in Las Vegas. And, again, I'm happy for him because it's paying off.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the recruitment process of getting him? I don't think people realize how kind of quick that stuff goes in the portal. And he had opportunities from some programs with some pretty significant names and basketball pedigrees. How did you get him out of the portal?
Well, it was a combination of a couple of things, man. I think timing. We had so much real estate, and it was simple. Like, I got to get 2 guys, and I'm going to basically ride them. You know what I mean? And he was one of those horses. And it was funny because as I was kind of in the mix for the job, I was still working in Maryland. It was almost like I was working 2 jobs for about a week because I didn't know what was going to happen. And, always just trying to stay on top of things, especially in the portal. And so there was a little bit of, I want Kean Hall regardless of whatever job that I get, or, if I'm staying at Maryland or if I'm getting this Mason job. And so I was communicating with him for quite some time. And I think that transition just kind of organically happened where I was consistent with my recruiting. and some of the other programs that, were recruiting him, I just don't think the consistency was there. And he felt that. And, this is a kid that went to UNLV, and he's been through the process before, so he kind of knows what he's looking for. And I gave him the real, told him he was going to be a 30-plus minute guy. He was going to be a guy that I was going to give the ball to and, have all the autonomy and freedom in the world, from an offensive standpoint. And, that to me was a no-brainer for him and his family. And he made that decision.
I just got to get him to give me some recommendations. And I only got to lose 15 pounds, Tony. So, like, it should be easy, right? Like, he lost 70 or whatever it was, 60. Yeah. Like, this should be easy for me, but not until I leave Charleston. All right, you guys are 13-3. I think you're as big a surprise as there is in the A-10 this year, just because we didn't know, new coach, a lot of new players, guys that haven't been in these type of roles like Kean before. How surprised are you, honestly? And don't BS me. Don't give me the coach.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, Jeff. When you look at the way we constructed the roster, and you look at everybody else in the league, no disrespect to anybody in the A-10, as we pieced it together, I mean, you got Darius Maddox, who was a starter at Virginia Tech and made almost 50 threes. If you can make 50 threes in the ACC, you're pretty good in the A-10. He's almost halfway there. Woody Newton, he started games at Oklahoma State. You're talking about two high major guys. And then Amari Kelly, I would say, was my biggest surprise, even though his numbers weren't as good as it is now. Whenever he did touch the ball, he scored it. And so you're talking about three guys that, from a production standpoint, you knew they were going to produce. And then Ronald Polite, he's picked, third team all A-10. He's an experienced guy. He's a veteran guy. He's been through this league. And so you start putting that together. I can't remember what we were picked. I didn't mind it, but I knew that we were better than that. Now, again, how you're able to connect those guys, you're talking 11 new guys, new head coach, and for Ronnie and for Malik, their third coach. And so that combination isn't always easy, but I've been just fortunate to just have a bunch of guys that their buy-in is tremendous. And I'm not just saying that, because I've been on the other side of it. But the buy-in has been a big reason why we've gotten off to a pretty good start. And I'll credit the DMV and just being in this region also, because you have 6 guys that are from this area, and their support system is here. So that always helps.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Now that you're kind of getting this thing going a little bit, I know that you played at George Mason and the area you were at, Maryland. But now that you guys are here in 13-3 and you look like you're going to make some noise in the Atlantic 10, are you feeling that from Fairfax? Are you feeling that from the fan base when you guys can fill up that arena? That place can get loud. And I don't know how many people necessarily realize what that what that program has when you factor in the factor that the DMV has as much high school talent as anybody anywhere in America.
Yeah, no, it's happening, man. The support is growing daily. I don't know a lot of people know this, but George Mason has 41,000 students. That's a pretty big pretty big number. And even though people generalize and say it's a commuter school, there's still about close to 9,000 to 10,000 people on campus. And anytime you can get the basketball program rolling, there's no football here. And I'm seeing the transition of it's starting to come alive. It's getting better every game. And I think, as we continue to win, I want this place to be a place it's just tough to come in here and get a win. And obviously we took an L to VCU, a good VCU team that I think is kind of figuring it out, but that place is rocking.
So true or false, I was told by somebody that back when you played, Coach L, Larinaga, moved you off the ball and put Valerian Campbell at the point because you shot too much.
So let's clear this up right now. It's funny because I'm sitting in the same seat that Coach L sat in. It's the same office, same chair. And we played Wake Forest. We played UC Irvine. And I think I had like 15 or 17. Didn't shoot it great. Then the next game we played Wake Forest. Took them to, I believe, double overtime or just overtime. I had 27. I was 12 for 20. Okay. And then we played Creighton. I'm walking this down for you. We played Creighton in our third game at home, and Creighton punishes us. And Coach L calls me in the office, and he says, I'm taking you off the ball because I just need more options on the wing. That he kind of brainwashed me into thinking that I was a better option off the ball. It didn't make any sense to me because I'm 5'11", and Lamar Butler, who was our best shooter, I was a better athlete than him, obviously. Technically, I was a small forward. And so I didn't agree. I didn't agree with it. But you win one game, you win two games, and all of a sudden it's a 10-game winning streak, and you're looking around like, you know what, I got to stay off the ball. But when it was all said and done, though, when it was game time and 10 seconds left on the clock, Coach L gave me the ball, so it didn't make a difference to me.
All right, we talked with you at Media Day about the Final Four run that you had with Coach L and George Mason, but that's not the only major sporting event that you've been a part of. You played in the Olympics, and I didn't realize this until I started researching for this interview. What was it? What was that experience like?
Man, it was. I put it right up there next to the Final Four because we were not. I had played with the national team in some qualification games years prior, but I never fully committed because you play overseas for 9-10 months. Those last 2-3 months in the summer, you want to just kind of chill and take your vacation. And in that particular summer, I just wanted something to do. I just didn't want to be home and wanted to just kind of keep playing. And so when I signed up to play, there was no way that I thought we were going to qualify. We were in pool play with the host, Venezuela. And once we got down there, they were our first game and we lost. And so you lose that game, more than likely, you're not making it out of your pool. And then I think we ended up beating Lithuania next, and we ended up beating, I believe, Russia maybe next. And so all of a sudden, the right team wins and the right team loses. And if we beat the Dominican Republic, we're going to the Olympics and punching our ticket. And this was a John Calipari-led Dominican Republic team with, Anthony Carl Towns, Francisco Garcia, some dudes. And so I just remember at one point in the game, I'm looking down, Al Horford, who I've obviously, sent me home in the Final Four. And so it just became real so fast. And I wanted that game more than anything else that I've ever, more than any game that I've ever competed in. The next thing you know, we beat DR and we're heading to the Olympics. And so the process was probably more, it was more fun getting to the Olympics than the actual Olympics. But it was definitely something that, I'll always be proud of. That was the first time that Nigeria qualified for the Olympics in the sport of basketball. And, being a starting point guard on that team, it was fun, man. I put it right there with the Final Four run.
What's the Olympic Village like? Is it as much fun as people say it is? Or are you just walking around and you see like, wow,
Tony
that's Michael Speltz,
Listen, I gotta tell you guys something, man. The Olympic Village was amazing. You're talking about, the best athletes in the world, the cafeteria. It's like, imagine like this big, like super big Walmart, and they've got like 50 different types of food. I remember Usain Bolt walking in there. I actually had lunch with Michael Phelps. He didn't know it because I was sitting next to him. But I mean, it was dope, man. And the unfortunate side was, when everybody talks about the Olympic Village and the fun that happens at the Olympics, I actually got hurt. It ended up being a career-ending injury. After Team USA, we played Team Argentina, and I tore my quad really bad, and so I had to go into surgery the next day. And so once we were done playing, my teammates had fun. I heard about it, but I was actually having surgery, so I didn't get the full experience of the Olympic Village.
So before you get hurt, you play Team USA. It's kind of a something that you'll probably never forget, the moment with you and James Harden. And James kind of not looking so good defensively. Take us through that.
You know what, man? I think God knew that was going to be one of my last times playing basketball, because he gave me that gift, and it's like the gift that never goes away. I don't talk about it, but people find it. And to be honest with you, we were down 50. So the play was cool, but at the end of the day, I would have traded that bucket for at least competing a little bit better against the best team in the world.
Yeah, you not to rub salt in any wounds or anything, but you guys gave up 156 points in that game, which was the record for the most points ever given up in the Olympics.
Did you guard it all? Did you guard it all in that game, Tony?
Listen, honestly, I don't make excuses. I shouldn't have played that game. I was hurt. My knee was messed up, and I ended up tearing it the next game. I just couldn't sit out. I just couldn't sit out and say, I'm not playing against, Kobe. I'm not playing against LeBron. I was out there limping around. I didn't care because I wanted to play against the best of the best.
Hold on. So you broke James Harden that badly with a knee that wasn't working?
Yeah, my right knee was not. It was messed up. I knew something was going on. But things at the time, it was like the worst thing ever, tearing your quad. But these things happen for a reason, and the timing of it couldn't have came at a better time because I was able to then transition into coaching. If I don't get hurt and I continue to play, there's no saying that I would have been able to get into coaching when I had the opportunity to. So these things happen, and it was a great experience.
Do you think that's the reason James Harden doesn't play defense anymore?
We're on record, so I'm not saying anything bad about that. I'm a fan of James Harden, man. So I let that one go.
Do you which parent was from Nigeria? And do you go back there at all? Will you recruit in Nigeria?
Yeah, so I do a lot of recruiting, internationally, Nigeria specifically, but it's always via different people, guys that I played with that are actually still in Nigeria. I was actually born in Nigeria. Both my parents are Nigerian. My mom brought us here when I was like 4 years old. And so I have not been back. I had planned on going back the COVID year, the 2020 year with Miles Powell when we should have won a national championship. I think people forget how good we were at Seton Hall that year.
Really?
But that summer I had a plan to go to Nigeria, but it didn't happen. And I've just been transitioning all this the last couple of years, bouncing around, and there's never really any time to take that type of a trip. But I plan on getting back soon.
What's your favorite traditional kind of West African meal? Like if we're coming over to the Skinn family house for a big party, for a holiday, for something, what are we having?
So I'm not sure if you guys have ever had jollof rice or at least heard of it. Okay, so jollof rice, it's just basically it's rice. It's a traditional rice that's made with like a tomato base. It'd be equivalent to like Spanish rice, but it's got a lot of flavor. So that would be, obviously a starter. And then there's a tomato based soup that, I don't eat meat. And so I'd put fish in it for you guys. Salmon, it's pretty good. And then there's a traditional spinach as well. It's not your typical spinach. It's very sweet. And again, it has some tomato base in it. And you can eat that with, your utensils, your fork. I won't make anything that you guys got to eat with your hands.
Appreciate it. All right, get back to Mason now. And what is the key to being able to sustain this? Because, once you go through the league here, and it's different. It's just different when league play comes around. When you're coming off the loss to VCU. What's the key? What have you kind of, obviously you don't want to go 0 for 15 from 3.
Yeah.
That's one of them. But beyond that, what's kind of the X factor, the key to you guys being able to fight for this league, one of the top spots this year?
Yeah, I think it's just continue to stay connected. You got to win some road games, and we've actually been really good on the road. We beat a good Toledo team on the road. We beat a good Tulane team on the road. And then our first conference play, we had to go through LaSalle. And so I think it's in us. It's a part of our identity to come out of, to play well on the road. And I think that's the part that I'm looking forward to going down to Richmond, just because we haven't really had our backs against the wall just yet. Obviously Keyshawn's got to continue to be Keyshawn. Got to find different ways to get Darius Maddox going, because if he has any type of space, like, it's money. And I just thought that was one of the reasons why we just couldn't get a great look, because VCU did a really good job in taking him away. But just the little things and just staying together, staying connected on the road.
How much of your decision to come back up north from Louisiana Tech was so that you didn't have to drive an hour to Shreveport from Ruston to be able to get Chipotle?
Chipotle, you're good. You got good memory, man. Now, what was your question now?
No, just how I heard that you drove an hour like 3 or 4 times a week just to be able to get Chipotle because they didn't have it in Ruston when you're down at Louisiana Tech.
That's the go-to, in my house, man. My kids love Chipotle, man. And, Ruston is not, I think Ruston's gotten better, but at the time it wasn't really, too many options, man. It was like Pizza Hut. They put a Chick-fil-A there when I was actually leaving. But Shreveport is a nice city. It's about 45 minutes, but it's been, it was a great experience, but I'm happy to be back on the East Coast.
So you mentioned your son. He's playing high school ball now, right? Is he you still one of those one-on-one battles or what?
Nah, he's pretty good. He's got a chance to be a pretty good player. I love the fact that I'm 40 and I don't have any injuries, and so I'm gonna stay there. Some folks just
Smart move.
like to
Smart
compete,
move.
but I'm not gonna be that guy that goes on the road and I'm walking around with crutches. I'm not doing that. I'm good.
That's Jeff.
On the scooter. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I'm
don't need
scooter.
Yeah, you don't need that. Is he a recruitable athlete yet? Are you starting the pitch? Is he gonna be George Mason good or like
Nah, you know what?
think-
He's probably fringe, probably like low major, like Division II.
Yep.
He's been hurt for basically the last 2 years, and so he missed both summers. And so he's got some catch up to do. But if he does, I think he could probably play, somewhere at Division I, somewhere possibly.
Well, listen, we appreciate you taking the time. Do me a favor, tell Keyshawn I said hello. I'm telling you, like, I can't imagine if his personality is what I think it is all the time. Like, he's got to be so much fun to coach.
No, he is, man. He's a tremendous kid, man. He does all the right things, man. I mean, he's a pro. He's a pro. He handles everything like a pro. He's about his business, and hopefully he'll just continue to grow in his role. I think he's got a chance. I think he's got a chance if we continue to play well to be, player of the year in this league. And that says a lot about him.
All right, last thing, and then we'll let you go, Tony. If you guys win the A-10 this year, can we get you to dance at midcourt to a song played by Doc Nix and the Green Machine?
If we win the A-10, 1,000%.
Cody will do whatever. Hey, if they win the A-10,
I'll do whatever.
everything's
Man.
on the table.
I'll even go Eric Muss on you, man. I'll take my shirt.
You can take off the shirt. You can jump on the table. You can do it.
Whatever it takes.
All right. Well, listen, we appreciate it, man. We appreciate you joining us. Great to see you, and continued success, man.
I appreciate you guys, man. Good talking to you guys.